Welcome to the itdvds.com YouTube channel. This is just a sample of the training available at itdvds.com. If you would like to see complete training, please go to itdvds.com. Now let's begin the sample. Now, other than the options we've already talked about for our ks.cfg file, there are a ton more, and you can actually get more advanced than you can in the graphical installer. So let's take a look at a document where we can find that information. I'm just going to go to vmware.com. I'm going to go down here to Resources, go to Documentation, and I'm going to go down here and expand VMware vSphere. I'm going to click on ESX4 and vCenter Server 4. And these are all the documents for vCenter and ESX4. So it's a great place to find information. The document we're actually looking for is ESX and vCenter Server Installation Guide. So I'll just go ahead and click on that and expand it out. Let me just make it a little bit larger so we can see it. And over here is the table of contents. I'll just scroll down and I'm going to expand installing VMware ESX, and I'm going to expand installing ESX using scripted mode. I'll scroll down, let me just select that. And there are a number of different sections here that go over different ways to use a script file. But the section we're concerned with is installation script commands. And this is actually going to go through each section and list the different commands that we can add to our ks.cfg file so that it installs it just the way we want to. You can see here we have an auto part section. This is optional. This actually creates the default partitions on the disk. If we wanted to, we could use this option. Auth or auth config, we can actually go over here and see we have our auth section that was added, and it just lets you know what authentication style it's going to use. It's going to use MD5 and shadow. If we go over to our document, we can see exactly what that means. It's going to enable MD5 based passwords, and shadow enables a shadow password file. So to scroll down, and you can see all of the different options here we have. There are a lot of options that we don't have with the normal graphical installer. Here's some bootloader options. Clear part. Now we do have this in our ks.config that we've been looking at. Let's go over here and take a look at it. Here's the clear part section right here. And what that command was going to do is it's going to remove all the partitions from that disk before creating new ones. For example, let's say we want to clear all drives. We would add the ---- all drives option, and it just ignores the ---- drives equals requirement and just clears everything, all the drives on the server. Now let's just scroll down, and here's an ESX location section where we can actually configure where it's going to put the /boot partition. So we can actually put it on an existing partition. It just needs to be formatted with an EX2 or EX3 file system, and it needs to be at least 1.1 gigs large. If we keep scrolling down, we can see we actually have firewall options. We can create firewall rules in our installation. So we don't have that command or that option with the graphical installer. We would have to install ESX and then go in and configure the firewall manually. The install option, that actually tells it where to find the installation files. You can see here we've got install CD-ROM, so it's going to look in the DVD-ROM. We also could do USB, NFS, or URL. So we can put the installation files somewhere else and use those installation files to install from. And one section we're probably going to want to become really familiar with is the part or partition section. Now this is going to create our service console partitions on the virtual disk, and it's also going to create partitions on the system. So you can see we can set partitions as primary. We can define the size in megabytes. We can specify whether we want it to grow and fill any available space up to the maximum size setting. When we've seen this before, down here you can see that the data store is set to minus grow, so it's going to fill it all up. If we removed this option, then it would just be configured for the specific size. And let's scroll down. We can see we can specify a max size, so it's going to, if we specify this with the grow option, it's going to fill all space up to this maximum size, so it might not take up all the space available. On disk or on drive specifies the disk on which the partition is supposed to be created. On first disk, we've seen this. It partitions on the first non-USB disk found. Down here on virtual disk. So this specifies if the partition is going to be created on the virtual disk for our service console. And FS type is going to specify the file system type. So if you're getting into advanced installations, you're going to want to check out this document and go through it. It has a lot of options in here. You can do a lot of different things with your scripted installation.